Alright everyone, it's your No-Tail Ninja back here again with just a quick video because the Thanksgiving holiday has been jam-packed and I've been super busy. So I might take a little bit longer on that MHA/The Boys video. I'm kind of going to talk about the intricacies as well as the failures of both of their respective hero systems. But since I did a video about old Papa over here, I figured it's about time I do a video about the forgotten son himself, Toya Todoroki. But before I go on, make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm really trying to hit 100 before the end of the year, and I'm really close. I think I'm only like 4 off at the time recording this, and I might actually be at 100 by the time this comes out. But if I am, still subscribe anyway, because your boy still has a very long road to go to get monetized. And once I do, expect a lot of new changes to be coming to the channel. I hope to be making a lot more videos a lot more frequently. But for right now, let's get into it. Now, after the events of chapter 406 in the manga, so spoiler alert if you guys haven't read up to that far, but we get the revelation from AFO, who's currently battling Bakugo, who has mastered and unlocked new aspects of his quirk, that he's actually still not nearly as powerful as Endeavor, which puts a lot of crazy things into perspective. Because Bakugo, mind you, in the fight against full power Shigaraki, or presumably full power Shigaraki, he lets out an explosion big enough that essentially rocks and tears down almost half of UA. And we see that he has done kind of the most damage to Shigaraki in his current state than anyone has done, even after that giant laser attack that Tamaki did, which, what the hell did that boy eat to make that? But regardless, we see that Bakugo is pretty powerful, so to say that he's still not to the level of Endeavor is kinda crazy, and that puts Endeavor on a whole nother scale, right? And though I do have some complaints about how Endeavor's story is played out as a whole, which I already made a whole video about, I don't really have any complaints about his quirk, because his quirk by itself is actually really powerful. And when you think about it, All for One and One for All's power wouldn't be anything without multiple quirk users. His power is strong enough on its own to be that powerful. And to meteorize him just a little bit more, during the Star and Stripe battle, when she makes that crazy powerful lightsaber attack, she also mentions that it's actually not nearly as powerful as Endeavor's firepower, or it would have been enough to kill AFO right then and there. But on multiple occasions, there's been a power that's been stated to be even stronger than his, and that is of his own son, Toya Todoroki, also known as Dabi. Now, Dabi is very difficult to talk about without also comparing him to Endeavor, because he's supposed to be a mirror image of Endeavor. And for the most part in the story, we don't really get to see a lot of his capabilities, and he usually tries to end battles really quickly because his skin will burn off, which we end up getting to see what happens when he does go full force later. But it's unfortunately impossible to talk about Dabi without prefacing Endeavor, because Dabi has modeled his entire kit off of Endeavor, so what is presumed to be a lot of his strengths will also be related to Endeavor. So sorry ahead of time if this comes out to be like an Endeavor Part 2 video. But one thing I do know for sure about Dabi's power is it's definitely more powerful than Endeavor's, because Endeavor himself has stated that it's more powerful than his own. And we do actually see before their epic showdown that his firepower is strong enough to actually melt Endeavor's skin, which we have never seen before. And that's after seeing him do about like 3 major prominence burns, and 2 of which actually managed to kill 2 versions of AFO, one when he was the 70% Shigaraki body, and one when he was in his original OG mass form. So for him to be able to sustain damage, and not only damage, but fire damage, is a crazy feat in and of itself. And I know that you might be thinking, well, Shoto has a burn, and he has a fire quirk, and the burn is also on his fire side. Shut up, stop asking so many questions. You know, feds or something? But in all seriousness, we do typically see that fire users don't sustain fire damage while their quirk is activated, except for Dabi, obviously. And for him to be as close as he is to Dabi during the scene, when he's melting him, he had to have some level of fire resistance activated. Now, I can't give you that Endeavor wasn't having the best of days in this moment, like, you know, AFO went blasting off again, and his son is also trying to kill him, so he might have been a little bit burnt out, which caused his fire power to not be nearly as strong, and we obviously see that when he can't get up in one scene. But regardless, with all the statements made prior, plus what we've seen of Dabi, it's very obvious that he's much more powerful than Endeavor without any of these caveats that are given to him. And also, Dabi is not having the best of days at that time either. With all that being said though, it kind of makes me wonder, if Dabi is powerful enough to rival Endeavor, and Endeavor was powerful enough to kill 2 versions of AFO, it makes me wonder, is Dabi potentially one of the strongest quirk users we've seen in the series? Or is he powerful enough to beat some version of AFO, which we've seen I think like 4 different versions of it? Obviously, I think battling any version of AFO, he would probably have to go all out in his battle, And we see what happens when he goes all out. And I don't want to get into power scaling territory because A, I'm just not the biggest fan of power scaling, and B, it's really up to the author on what they decide is the power of that character for whatever given chapter, because we can measure that like this person's city level or could destroy a planet and blah blah blah, and then they'll get killed by a blaster because the author thought it'll make for a cool scene. It's so stupid. It's not really a dig on the power scaling community, it's just more a dig on just writing in general. So I'm just going to skip all the math and I'm just going to go after statements that the characters make themselves as well as stuff that we've actually seen happen in the manga/anime. Now when it comes to Dabi, as I said before, it seems like he's modeled his entire kit off of Endeavor. He seems to have watched him and watched his every move and watched his every attack that he's ever done and tries to copy it. And we even see that he does the same thing with Shoto when Shoto does his phosphorus technique. But I can't exactly say that he's a one-to-one when it comes to Endeavor. Because when you look at him, obviously there's a difference in physical strength between the two of them. And let's not forget that for a human, Endeavor's pretty strong. He was able to hold down Shigaraki on multiple occasions and able to even go hand-to-hand combat with All For One. And when it comes to fights itself, I don't think we've actually seen Dabi in a lot of battles. Usually the manga tries to either not show his battles or tries to have him end quickly because he's not trying to destroy his body before he gets to meet his father in a fatal showdown. What we have seen, it's usually not much. Like the first time we see him fight, it's a twice clone and it gets immediately destroyed. The next time we see him, and I guess this is a fight, he gets immediately taken out by Gran Torino, which I guess is because they deemed him as a high priority by the Hero Association. Eventually he does fight Geten, which to be honest, he should have won this. I don't know how he managed to lose this because he's not only resistant to ice, but he's also one of the strongest fire users, so he should have been able to melt any type of ice Geten got to him. And any kind of ice he did encase him with or attack him with should have had zero effect on him. But regardless, that was more or less a fight to a standstill, so I don't even know if I want to count that. And then there was the fight against Hawks, which, you know, he just kind of no-diffed him pretty badly, actually. And then there's his various battles against Shoto, which the first time they battle, he just leaves because Endeavor gets knocked out. The second time, he loses, technically, then he gets back up, and then he wins, and it just goes flying off. I don't really know. I can't really count that as a win or loss either. All that being said, it's kind of inconclusive on what his battle IQ exactly is, so it'll be kind of hard to place him in a fight against AFO. Because what we do know is, in the infamous battle against him versus Endeavor, we get to see that his feats are pretty close to Endeavor, as well as like at least his speed and reaction time when it comes to fighting. And mind you, at this time, I don't even think he has eyelids, so I can only imagine how much better his fighting would be if he could probably even see at this point. But that being said, if he's able to actually go hand-to-hand with Endeavor, mind you, it's still weak in Endeavor, but if he's able to go hand-to-hand with Endeavor, he must be equivalent to him to some extent. Now, we have seen in multiple battles before with Endeavor that AFO does try to go for long-range attacks, and anytime he closes that distance, it is game over. He will immediately lose the fight. And the only way he even can get in close-range attacks is that he has to be able to emotionally manipulate the person and let their guard down, to which he will strike, and he does that just about every fight. But we see in Endeavor that in multiple fights that he's able to dodge a lot of the attacks that are long range, and the only real way that he can do damage is to get in close range to him. Now I believe Dabi's about equivalent when it comes to reaction speed as well as speed when it comes to Endeavor. Endeavor might be a little bit faster just because he has a higher battle IQ than Dabi does, as well as more battle experience being a pro hero for several years. Now when it comes to AFO having a battle with Dabi, I figure he'll find himself in a similar situation that he found himself with Endeavor, and I believe that potentially Dabi might be powerful enough to at least kill the mass form and maybe the original form, but he would have to go all out, and he definitely doesn't stand a chance against his rewinding form. No one really stands a chance to that. And we do hear in both of those forms from All For One himself, Endeavor's power is strong enough to kill him. Now, we might forget that because AFO kind of walks on water, but he's not invincible, especially not in his regular form. He's said on multiple occasions there's various things that can still kill him. Falling from high distances, crazy powerful burns and explosions, as well as high water pressures. And some of those things he mentioned while he was in the Shigaraki body fusion, so it'd be very disingenuous to say Dabi doesn't stand a chance, because he very obviously does. And with the power as powerful as his, I'm not really sure what other quirks can potentially rival his own. I mean, the only quirk that they could send to even fight him was a quirk very similar to his own, which he still kind of ended up winning that. And I'm mostly talking about characters that are currently still alive. There's definitely quirks that are much stronger than his, like Twice's and Star and Stripe, but Toga's quirk I don't really foresee beating Dabi in a battle because Dabi's fire is strong enough that it would burn any Twice clone that came into any reasonable amount of distance with his body. And seeing how big this fireball is when he's about to explode, I wouldn't say that AFO has any quirk that could also get equally close to him in distance to actually land an attack. And I'm pretty sure if he's anywhere within his fireball, he is also dying immediately. Because we see it took about 3 ice users to even slow him down, and even eventually when Shoto did join it, making it 4, he does mention that he couldn't have stopped Dabi on his own. He needed his family's help to stop him, which means he was almost as powerful as 4 ice users. Now, the only factor that might give AFO the win is we're just not really certain on what quirks that he has in his arsenal at any given time, because his power set seems to vary depending on whatever the hell the battle is that day. He's pulled out various as-pull powers that make no sense on various different occasions, so who knows, he might have a quirk that might just be able to freeze him, and he'll just, for some reason, just didn't use it against Endeavor. But when it comes to the baseline of their quirks, AFO, we forget that is powerful because he's acquired so many various different quirks over the time period. So in a battle where if he doesn't have any of those quirks prior and he needs to make contact with the user in order to get their quirk, he would lose almost immediately. The only thing really giving him the win in a lot of his battles is his really high battle IQ for living for so many years and fighting so many one-for-all users. But all this being said, I gotta bring it back to the point. Dabi has potentially one of the strongest quirks in the series, and it's really hard to debate. If it's not number 1, it's definitely within the top 5. And the only thing really limiting him is he's just not one of the best quirk users, but he does have one of the best quirks. And just before his defeat, we even see that he had an ice quirk, and we're not really sure the details on what that could do exactly, but it could have potentially circumvented his whole body melting issue that he was going through. So he could have even been even stronger if his ice quirk worked the same way as Shoto's. But anyway, that's all I got for today. Hopefully everyone had a great holiday, great Thanksgiving. You guys should be seeing this on Monday. But I had a pretty good one. I've been jam-packed with stuff to do. Finally slowing down, but now I gotta get ready for Christmas. But speaking of which, hopefully you guys managed to get some good Black Friday deals. There was not a lot of great deals, but I still tried. But the greatest gift you could give me is subscribing. As I said, I'm really close to 100. I'm just like right there at the precipice. So if I hit that, that'd be great. I know I still got a long way to go, but like every day I look at that number grow, and I'm really appreciative to everyone that helps me out here because I'm trying to get this channel monetized. I really want to put this as make this a full-time gig so I can make you guys a lot of content because I have a lot of ideas that I want to make happen, but it takes every little bit I can. But I appreciate you guys. Stay safe, my ninjas, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Peace.